Okay, all right. So just to give you a little background on who I am and Michelle will introduce herself, we always want to just kind of give an overview of what our office does. All new faces. I don't think any of you have been in our office yet, right? No? No? Okay. So my name is Alicia, and I oversee the office, but I also oversee internships and co-ops. And basically what that means is I help students, whether it be, and Michelle will do the same, but for her area, but resumes, LinkedIn. I always say it's the big five. When you come to our office, regardless of whether you're looking for an internship now or maybe in a year, we make sure we go over your resume, and your resume is really a way to self-assess, to really see where your strengths are and where you have to build and develop strengths and kind of get to know yourself. Your cover letter and all kinds of business communications that you'd have. Your LinkedIn, right? Your professional brand and interviewing. And the circle that surrounds those five is you. So I know I want to cover those five. Michelle knows she wants to cover those five, but maybe for you, it's just to get prepared. Maybe for you, it's a job. Maybe for James, it's an internship in a year. And maybe for Austin, it's an internship next semester, right? So that's the concept of when you see a career coach, and a lot of times students don't quite understand what a career coach can do for them, is that we start where you are, we start to learn about who you are, what your objectives and goals are, and then we help prepare you. And that's for your academic and your career journey. But Michelle and I are always thinking about those five things, right? But our office does a lot more. We have a mentor program with Sanofi Pharmaceuticals. We offer job shadowing opportunities, which is a chance for you to meet and talk to employers and learn about careers. Carrie, who's not here today, is our career counselor. So she's kind of, what do I want to do with my life? So you might know you're a business major, but you're not quite sure you want finance. And how do I figure out before I land at Rutgers that this is the right path for me? Because one of the hardest things is to be fully in, about to graduate with your bachelor's degree and realize you hate your degree, right? So to do that work now is really important. I always liken it to like, you don't just wake up and run a marathon. You've got to train. The same thing with discovering your career journey. For some people, you wake up and my roommate in college wanted to be a dentist at 6. When we lived together in college, she wanted to be a dentist. She's a dentist and she loves it. For me, my career journey was a little bit more like this. So doing the work now and really discovering what you like, what you want to learn, what's your value and what's important to you, is I would do that. And that's what Carrie does. She helps you discover your career path. And then Michelle and I help make it happen by giving you the tools and the search capacity. That's kind of our office in a nutshell, but I'll let Michelle introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle, and I am an RVCC alumni too, so we have a connection, right? So in the office, I help students who are looking for part-time as well as full-time positions. So in addition to those top 5 that Alicia just mentioned, I can also help you if you're looking for employment. So if you come into my office, I will help prepare you with all of the skills that you need in order to find employment. So come by, come see me for an appointment, and I can help you. And we do that through College Central Network, which is our job and internship board.
Okay. When we email you all this information, we'll also email you the PowerPoint. So you have it, so you don't have to worry about taking notes. And there's a live link to College Central Network. If you're not registered, you can get yourself registered because it stays free to you forever. Our office stays free to you forever. So a lot of students like your sister who's at Montclair will reach out to us and say, I'm going to an interview. Could I just review, even though I reviewed it with my career office at Montclair or at Rutgers, can I do that with you? And what's nice is that most four-year colleges use a job and internship platform called Handshake. And we use College Central Network. So since that stays free to you, when you go off to your next college, you got 2 platforms to look for internships and jobs for as long as you want it, which is a good thing, okay? Just a little bit about who we are. So what we're gonna do today is, the biggest thing is just to kind of prepare you for the event, because this event is not meant to be a job fair where you're walking into the room and you have to be totally ready to be interviewed and possibly get or not get it, a follow-up interview or a follow-up conversation. This is meant to be discovery for you. And it's kind of exciting because it's a partnership with Somerset County government. And a lot of times students don't realize that right in your back door in Somerset County, there are tons of internship and job opportunities with Somerset County government. And you'll look at the directory that Michelle handed out, and I mean, you'll see all the divisions that are gonna be there. And you can click when we send this to you on all the links. And then we're gonna also have LabCorp, TD Bank, Valley National, the ARC of Somerset, the Somerset wide. So this is a chance to say like, go to the information system, group and just talk to them. And what we're gonna do in today's workshop is help you to figure out how to talk to them. So you're comfortable. So you're not walking in there going, I don't know what to do. And what's also nice is the directory you have, you'll notice also has table numbers. So we're gonna go over what to expect with the event. And then we're gonna go over a little bit of informational interviewing. And the informational interviewing is really the way you have a career conversation that's not meant to lead to a job interview. It's meant to create a relationship, to create a network, and possibly continue a conversation. Sometimes they wind up being internships. Last year we had a networking event with Somerset County, and it was just meant to be a networking event. 3 students got offered internships from that event. It wasn't what we promised, it wasn't what we, expected, but it happened, because that's what happens when you start meeting people and having conversations. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. Michelle's gonna talk about your elevator pitch and what that is, and really it's your tell me about yourself, because we want you to start thinking about that. So when you walk up to a table, if I'm Austin, right, and Michelle is working for the division of you're interested in, how do you say, hi, Michelle, I'm Austin. What do you say next? How do you introduce yourself? So we're going to talk about that. And then what's next? So that's really what's going to happen today. So the event. When you walk in the event, does everybody know where the event center is? We're really kind of on the cusp of being in it. It's right down the hallway from here. So when you just continue walking down the hallway, conference room A, B, and C is what they call the event center. We're going to be in B and C. So the 2 rooms are going to have the divider open. When you walk into the room, it's going to be 2 horseshoes. It's going to be tables on the outside and tables on the inside. And they're all going to be numbered according to this here. So when you get the interactive version of this and you start to say, I want to make sure I hit engineering, I want to make sure I hit, information technology. Oh, and James Sawyer is going to be there. Let me click on his link and learn a little bit about that site and start to investigate. So I know I want to hit that table, but maybe you don't want to hit that table first because you're going to be really nervous. And maybe you want to hit a table you don't care as much about and practice a few times, right? So really the event is about for you to start having these conversations and to meet people and to meet what they do, like learn about what it is they do in their day in the life of somebody who works for Somerset County and information systems or in the finance division. James, you're in marketing, right? So they're going to have a marketing person there as well. So just talking to people, you can call me Alicia. So really it's about practice, it's about exposure, it's about career conversations and getting you in the mindset of like, when you go off to your 4-year, career fairs are all over the place. And so often, if you haven't done some of the work now, it can be really stressful. So just kind of getting used to it. Is that what you expected it to be? What did you all, when you got the email, think that this was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I emailed her helping with my resume because I thought I was like an actual job fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's what we're hoping you all will do, is that you'll come with us and start working on your resume, because you need one. And chances are, if you've done one on your own, or your sister's helped you, or you've done one on your own, you used a template, then usually the format's not the best. And like there's a specific format for each kind of major. And the way, like with marketing, you want a more creative resume, right? Because it's marketing. And so yes, you want to show your coursework and your projects and your experiences, but how do you also stylize your resume? With information systems, you want your skill sets, right? They're all about like software, hardware, languages, troubleshooting, what capacity do you have, right? So those are the things that you want to come back to our office and get some help with the resume for sure. If you have one that you want to bring with you, yes, but this is not one where you're expected to do that. If you make a connection that you really want to follow up on after Tuesday, get in our office ASAP. So when you do that follow-up email, you have something to give them. Or you could say, can we set up another time to speak? And then when you speak with them again, then you have your resume ready for that time. So that's kind of what the event's gonna be about. Did anyone else have any other expectations of what the event was gonna be, or are you just kind of going there and checking it out? Yeah? Okay. So I just want to talk briefly about what networking is. And a lot of times, I think that networking is a little bit confusing because people say, well, what exactly is networking? And do I have to sell myself? Do I have to be someone they expect me to be? Or can I just be myself? And the answer is networking is really about learning how to tell your story to somebody and then making that connection and then learning how to build and sustain that relationship. Because when you meet somebody, right? So you have a networking thing here. Your older sister worked with us and had a really successful time with our office with 2 internships, and now she's transferred, she's got a 3rd internship. So now she said, go see us, or maybe you wouldn't even have come. And then we hear you like Maria, you know Maria because you're her sister, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, and then network begins. And then where we help you, you never know. So I don't have a white Sharpie, but if you just kind of think about like, I told one person and then it goes and then it goes and it goes. But it starts with understanding who you are, what you want to tell somebody about yourself, and then how do you maintain and continue that relationship. So this is kind of your first step of getting a little uncomfortable and starting to build your network, right? You already have a network. Your network might be your friends, it might be your family, might be your professors, it might be your advisors. But as you pursue your career journey, you want to build that network professionally. And you kind of think about depositing in a bank account, right? It's not going to be enough just to shake a hand on Tuesday and walk away. The next step in that networking is to send a thank you and to say, can we have another conversation? And then when you have another conversation, you have another step with that. And then they may know somebody who they want to introduce you to. And then when you move to your next school, it's more chances to meet people. So networking is just really about building and sustaining professional and personal relationships in your world. So I want to show a quick YouTube video on informational interview, because that's what we're going to spend a little time on. And informational interviewing is very different than a job interview or speaking to someone for an internship. Has anyone ever heard of informational interviewing? Okay, so what I want you to pull out, just so you see, is on the packet that Michelle gave you, the very first page of that packet has a little blurb about what is informational interviewing, reasons to conduct it, sample questions, and how to keep the connection going. So it's kind of an overview of kind of a snapshot of what informational interviewing is. So it's really a chance to start the conversation and to meet somebody. And a lot of times you might meet someone's father's friend's brother's uncle's sister who says, you should speak to them, they're in finance, right? They may not have an internship and they may be a little overwhelmed if you ask them if they have an internship. But if you ask them, can we sit down and can I informational interview you so I can learn about your career and what you do in your life, and ask some questions like, how did you become interested in that field? How did you begin your career? What was your major when you were in college? What advice do you have for a young professional in terms of how I can get there? Those are the kind of conversations and questions you want to have when you go into the career day on Tuesday. So once you introduce yourself and you do the elevator pitch, which Michelle's going to go and talk about in a little bit, then you're going to basically ask if you could spend a few minutes asking them some questions about what it is they do and how they got there, right? So if we're kind of mocking or showing an example, a mock example of that, and she's an employer and I shake my hand, and you want to be careful about your handshake. So I just want to check people's handshakes here. Okay, so the best kind of handshake is you lock right here and you hold and you look right at the person's eye. You don't want to shake here, right? You want to shake here. You want to come in and shake firm, right? And look at the person's eye. So unless you're worried about COVID, which is still around, you don't have to shake hands, and you can just kind of say, oh, I'm not shaking hands because of COVID. But if you're comfortable, get in there and do a good handshake, all right? And then at that point, you might say, hi, my name's Alicia.
Hello, Alicia. My name is Michelle. How are you?
And I see you're with TD Bank.
Yes.
So interesting enough, I'm a business major at Raritan Valley Community College, and I'm really interested in finance. I've really enjoyed my academics, but I haven't gotten a lot of experience outside of the classroom directly in finance. I'm really interested in banking and learning more about it. I have been working a lot while I've been going to school. I actually work about 20 hours a week as a shift supervisor for Dunkin', where I learned a lot about customer service and working with team members, and I'm really proud of that. But more recently, I realized as I'm about to transfer onto a four-year college and major in finance, that I want to get some experience outside the classroom. So I'm excited to be here today. Would you mind if I ask you some questions about working at TD Bank and career opportunities?
Sure.
That's kind of an intro. And then she's giving me, I have my ask. She's giving me the ask. So then, you can come with stuff, right? You don't have to come empty-handed. You can have questions highlighted here that you want to ask them. You can Google informational interviews, and you might not like these questions, but you find questions on the internet you like. But come with questions prepped for yourself that you're going to ask. And I'm just going to give a little bit of this video because it also shows how informational interviewing is a conversation. Like anything, we're listening and we're speaking. And sometimes when we're nervous, we forget to listen and engage in the two-way street. It's like a minute long.
An informational interview is an amazingly powerful tool. It can help you learn about different types of work you're interested in. And by providing inside perspective, it may even connect you to opportunities you couldn't see from the outside. So let's take a look at what informational interviewing is all about. An informational interview is not a job interview, and it's not a trick you play to get a job. If you're asking for a job and they do have one, then they'll likely start judging whether you're a good fit. And if they don't have one, then that conversation ends there. The key to a successful informational interview is curiosity. With sincere curiosity and good questions about your interviewee's life and experience, you gain insights into their successes and failures, how they got where they are, and what's important to them. Your curiosity will lead to an authentically engaged conversation, which also opens the door for the interviewee to get curious about you. The professional you're speaking with might say something like, "Wow, you're asking some really good questions." And in that transition, informational interviewing becomes even more valuable for someone looking for work. Informational interviews give you an opportunity to see what kinds of work resonate with you and help you determine what communities you would like to be a part of. In a good informational interview, the professional you speak with gets a lot out of the conversation too. They get to discuss their life and their work with someone who's curious about their experience and values their expertise. Plus, they get the pleasure of talking with someone who's genuinely interested in what they do. How do you do it well? Here are 5 tips to get you started. First, do your homework. Take some time to research LinkedIn or other online platforms to learn about the professional you're interviewing. Consider what questions you have about their life and work. The second tip is to try to meet in person. On the phone is okay, but face-to-face is best. 3, always try to buy the coffee or lunch. Your interviewee is giving you their time. Paying is a good way of showing your appreciation and beginning to create a connection. 4, ask your interviewee who else they recommend you talk with. If the interview has gone well, they may be willing to connect you to other professionals you can learn from and who might have opportunities for you. Finally, tip number 5, after the interview, send a thank you. Email is okay, but a handwritten note is even better. And if they asked you to keep them posted on your progress, do so.
All right, so let's just talk a little bit about informational interviewing and the career day. So what did you all think about that? About informational interviewing?
I like it.
Okay, what do you like about it?
Well, it was when I realized you switch to usual roles when it comes to job searching. You're the interviewer, like you're the one asking questions, you're
Yes.
the one who's pressing. Other than the other way around, like you're asking questions, all this stuff.
And that's a really good point, Nathaniel, because that's also, you're taking control. And by taking control in the conversation and initiating it, you're also showing the skill set that you have to the person you're having a conversation with. So it's becoming a more active role, and that's what informational interviewing is. So that's what you really want to prepare for Tuesday. You don't have to have the perfect resume on Tuesday, but you definitely want to have the questions that you want to ask. Because think about, what do I want to get out of Tuesday? And then know that following up with us for your LinkedIn, for your resume, for your interviewing, for your career plan, all those things are going to be helping you go to the next step. It's a day of discovery is the way I would look at it. Thank you. Anybody else want to say anything about informational interviewing? Yeah, James.
I've been to a job fair before.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the times people would have conversations that didn't feel like genuine.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, it's really hard to stay away from like the fake conversations, that kind of thing. People are just kind of sucking up to the person that they're with
Yeah.
for the sake of maybe being offered something. So I think it's a big thing to genuinely like going into the conversation without the intent of like, I want an internship from you.
Yes.
Going in thinking like, hey, maybe I can learn something from this person, or he can know somebody.
Yep.
And maybe knowing what degree they got, where they went to school, that kind of thing could help me instead of me being vain and just trying to get something from them.
You know, when Michelle starts talking about your elevator pitch, you tell me about yourself, authenticity is the most important thing. At this point, they know if you're just trying to suck up to them. Excuse me, I don't normally use that word. But they know if you're really trying to, like, you're not being authentic. And so the more you can be honest with who you are and what you bring to the table, that's the beauty of the elevator pitch. And then since you control the informational interview, you control the questions you ask, right? And then let the conversation happen organically. And that's really where people don't hire you. Like, once you get the interview, they know your resume, which doesn't get you the job, it gets you the interview. You have the skill sets, but are you the right fit? So if you're not being you, they're not necessarily gonna know who you are and if you are a good fit. So first of all, you've got to know what you want them to remember about you when you leave the room. And when you ask yourself that, what are the things what are my takeaways? What did I learn in my classes? Maybe, you know, with information systems, a lot of my computer people do a lot of self-learning, self-directed learning, because you just love it. Well, maybe you want them to know about that, right? What are some strengths? What are some things, that experiences that you've had that have shaped you that therefore mean something to me? And by preparing that, it becomes more authentic. So that's great, James. Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. It also comes down to, this acronym was coined by some people that Michelle and I work with at Rutgers, and we love it. Because when you talk about personal branding, I think it's kind of like, what is that? And how do I do it? I know it's important. It's a buzzword. They talk about it, but I really don't know what it is. And we love their pin it, because the first piece of branding is your presence, right? Is your online presence, is your career management tool presence, is your body language presence. So like, you know, we all chuckle when someone gets put on the spot with a handshake, but that's your body language. That's your first impression with someone. How do you present? So I would dress business casual on Tuesday. You don't have to be in a suit, but just put a nice pair of slacks on and, you know, a nice blouse or something, or a nice, you know, button-down shirt. You don't have to wear a tie, nothing formal, but business casual would be nice. Make sure you practice your handshake. Make sure you practice your elevator pitch. You tell me about yourself, so you're leading them with like an authentic, you know, summary of who you are. And then make sure you know the skills that you want to put out there. And then what happens also with presence is make sure if they Google you, that's why LinkedIn is so important. Make sure any of your social media accounts are private, right? And if they're not private, put them into private mode. And then make sure if you don't have, a bad LinkedIn is worse than no LinkedIn. So if you have a LinkedIn and it's just been kind of hanging out there in nowhere's land, go into dark mode. I mean, go into privacy, zero visibility, so they can't find you until you work with us, and then make it public when it's a strong LinkedIn. So that's the first thing they get when they Google you. And then your career management tools is that kind of stuff that I was talking about, the big five. You know, when Michelle and I start helping with your resume, you know, there's other things about career management tools. Once you have a resume, your phone should have a professional voicemail. It shouldn't be automated. Once you have a professional resume, you should have a professional signature with a professional email with, you know, from Gmail. Employers don't like Comcast, Hotmail. A lot of those servers get blocked. So they always say what they prefer, and then that should have a signature. And if you don't know what I mean by that, that's part of what we should be working on together and showing you how, your name should say your name, business at Rarity Valley Community College, May 24 grad, your cell, your email. Your voicemail should say, hi, you've reached Alicia. Sorry I've missed your call. Please leave your name and your message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. It shouldn't have been, you have reached 908-222, right? That's all part of your branding. That's all part of your presence. So it's nothing mysterious. It's just really thinking about what's the image I'm presenting, both virtually, live, and through my career management tools. And then identity is knowing yourself. You keep talking about authenticity, but it's also knowing your skills. And Michelle's going to talk a little bit more about that when we jump into the elevator pitch. And networking is what's happening, right? Networking is building that network and really identifying, when you leave here, think about what professors do I want to stay in touch with, right? And drop them an email. Hey, I've landed at Rutgers, just want to say thank you so much. Hey, I've updated my resume, I want to give you an update. Hey, listen, know people who you're really close with in your network, their birthday, or what holidays they celebrate. That's the way you keep that network going. And the way you'll keep this network going on Tuesday is sending that follow-up thank you note, right? And working with our office to make sure that's all set for you. Make sense? Any questions so far? So we're going to jump into getting you ready to network and getting you ready for your elevator pitch. So there's something I want to do that I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes. And the second page you all have in your packet, it says Jumpstart to my career map. And I'm going to give you a few minutes. You do not have to share this. No one's going to see it, so you don't have to censor yourself. This is the beginning of starting to understand your story. So I just want you to take just a few minutes and answer what's your superpower? And I know that sounds funny, but what's your best character trait? What's something you're most proud of about yourself? For me, I might say my superpower is really being mindful about how to connect with people and staying connected to them. That's always what drives me. Michelle, what's your superpower?
I'm a good listener.
Right. So that's a trait that is something you're really proud of. And then in there, what's one word to describe how I want to impact the world? 3 top values. Values are 3 things that's really important to you. And values are personal. When someone says, one of my biggest values is to make a lot of money, and they put their head down and laugh, I go, no, put your head up. That's a value, right? So just what's your 3 top values? 3 top skills. What are your 3 best skills? What's one accomplishment you're really proud of? What would your perfect internship look like? What are some hobbies or interests of yours? And please, we don't always put them on the resume, but sometimes we do, especially if I have an engineer whose pastime loves taking apart BMW engines and putting them back together. That's very relevant to me, right? 3 occupations you've considered, experiences that have built your skills, your favorite classes, and how you became interested in your major and your intended career. This is going to help you shape your story. So again, no one's going to see this, but this is putting the words from your head down on paper. I'll stop talking for a few minutes. Now, Austin, just to answer a question, when you said you had emailed Michelle, so it's cool you took initiative to do that. There will be people there looking for jobs, just so you know, because it's open to the community and to graduates. So there'll definitely be people there with resumes hoping to get jobs, but it's not the intention to hire on the spot. Like James said, he's been to job fairs. Sometimes they're interviewing right then and there, and if they're bringing you back, or that's high pressure because you're hoping to be, brought back. This is a little bit more of a safer environment for all of you that you can just discover and kind of make connections.
So would you recommend not bringing one or just bringing one?
Well, what I would say is let Michelle take a look at it before you bring it, because I'd rather you not bring one that's not really your best foot forward. If Michelle's like, this is good, you can use it, but we're going to improve it. So I would defer first, because I think just like a LinkedIn, sometimes a bad resume is that is not as, I'd rather have not one, right, and then build one. Yeah,
So
James,
between now and next Tuesday, you can have a look at our resumes, right?
We can.
If they-
yeah, there's only 4 of you, so
would you
absolutely.
recommend having them bring them, or,
If it's a resume that we're comfortable with, absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely, yep. And Michelle and I can definitely give you some feedback. It may not be the perfect resume by Tuesday, because that's just around the corner.
no, I understand.
But we can take a look at it, we can make some suggestions. In this PowerPoint, we've actually added some sample resumes in there. There may not be time today to do kind of a whole resume workshop, but if there's time, we're gonna talk about that. But you'll get this PowerPoint, and then like, we can send you an information systems resume. We could send you a marketing resume, we could send you a finance resume, we could send you a STEM resume. So this way you're like, oh, I wanna make these tweaks before Tuesday. And then you can say, hey, Alicia, hey, Michelle, you take a quick look at it. So this way it's in decent shape by Tuesday. And that's doable, right?
And I know you're talking about LinkedIn, like, what would make someone's LinkedIn better than?
Yeah, so a lot. So there's a lot of components to a LinkedIn, right? So when you land on the page, your headshot is the picture, right? Then behind it is what's called your banner or your ribbon, personalizing that, having a good headline, not just student at Raritan Valley, information systems major at Raritan Valley, aspiring software engineer, right? So when I land on your page, that image behind you, it shows me something about you. The headshot is strong, the headline, personalizing your URL, not just taking the one that LinkedIn has assigned to you, and then making sure that it's more of a deeper dive into your resume. It has an about section, experience, education, projects, classes, organizations, because your resume can only be 1 page, right? You don't want 1-inch margins between 0.5 and 0.8, between 10 point to 12 point. You're limited. So when you have your link on your resume of LinkedIn, you can expand. You can have everything you couldn't get onto your resume. And people know that. That's why they love it when it's on the resume and they can click right on and see your LinkedIn. How are you all doing with the jump start? Good? Okay. All right, so once you have the map, the jump start, you start to have a little bit of a glimpse of who you are. And that's going to be really helpful in terms of writing your pitch. And the next thing you want to do is you want to look at your map and you want to parlay it into formatting your pitch, formatting your tell me about yourself. So you're going from this is all about me to now I'm going to tell a story. And that's the next page. So that's what's up on the slide. So it's up here. I'm just going to hold it there for a second. And this allows you to tell your story. And the first thing you want to do is kind of your motivational story. So you're not just going to say, hi, my name's Alicia, I'm a business major. Hi, my name's Austin, I'm an information systems major. What's your why behind it? I actually chose information systems because I've always loved computers. My first time I got turned on to the power of computers and really knew I enjoyed it was. That's your hook. You know, it's the difference between if you say to me, how was your weekend, Alicia? And I say it was good. I've answered the question, but it's not very interesting. If I say it was good, I saw my college roommates, I haven't seen them in about 10 years, we went out. All of a sudden the story gets interesting. You want to make your story interesting. So when you look at your career map, your jump start that you just did, and you start to say, I'm shaking Michelle's hand, who's working for an area that I want to have a conversation with. What do I want them to know about myself first? Maybe it's why you chose Raritan Valley. Maybe you're at a different college and your story is really kind of different and you want to share that. Maybe you want to tell them that you started out as an engineer major and then you realize you changed to biology because you really love blah, 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 right? So you think about the story, and what will help you with the career map is the career map helps you tell the story, because when you look at your values and your interests and your top favorite classes, your why starts to surface. Then you want to have supporting experiences in your pitch. And that's where you're going to talk about and highlight your academic work, maybe some supporting experiences. Maybe you're involved on campus in a club where you develop skills. Maybe you work while going to school. Maybe you're an athlete. And then closing is the ask. And the closing for Tuesday is saying, can I spend some time asking you some questions? And then when that starts to wane, when it starts to complete, then saying, can I get a business card? Do you mind if I follow up with you? I'd love to have some more conversation, maybe even have a job shadow or something. That's the X. So again, I'm gonna be quiet again, and before Michelle comes up, I'm gonna show you a video of a student who's at Rutgers Business School, and I'm gonna show you his elevator pitch. And I'm gonna give you a few minutes to work on yours and let Michelle do a deeper dive in the elevator pitch so you can kind of hear it again, because it's a lot to take in, first time hearing it. And then we're gonna have you practice with each other, okay? And that won't be recorded, don't worry. Okay, so let me just go to the next. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna come back in a second.
Hi everyone, my name is Yash Goyal. I'm a sophomore at Raritan Valley studying business. After graduating this May, I plan to transfer to a four-year school to study finance and accounting. I've always been very enthusiastic and curious about the business and economic environment, asking myself questions like how inflation affects gas prices today, or why supply chain disruptions prevent people from getting their PS4. On campus, I've been involved in many different ways. I've been a part of the Sanofi Corporate Mentorship Program. I'm an officer, vice president of scholarship and service in the Honor Society on campus, helping design and implement projects like the Make a Difference campaign. Also, collaborating with service learning organizations. I believe these activities have made me a better leader, an enthusiastic team member, and always willing to learn more and put my best foot forward. I'm really excited to delve into the business field and look at different career options. I'm excited to say this June I'll be pursuing a co-op with Johnson & Johnson. I hope this sample elevator pitch helped you out, and please feel free to connect with me at any point. Good luck.
So not too difficult when you see that, right? Right? So I'm gonna be quiet again, I'll let you fill out your story, and then Michelle's gonna talk a little bit more about the mechanics of the elevator pitch. There's a great handout she'll go over with all of that. So just again, try to tell your story, and then we'll go from there.
So in the slide, learning to tell your story. When you are telling your story, think about any particular brand of a product that you use, right? That product that you use was able to get your attention in order for you to be interested in it. So this is the same thing that you're gonna do when you're telling the story. When you go in and you speak to the individual who you are going to shake hands with, you want to get their attention to be able to get interested in you so that they know about you, right? So, and you want to captivate them so that you hold their attention within this short period of time. We don't expect the elevator pitch. You want to make sure that you keep it short and brief because you don't want to spend a lot of time. So let's think about the story about an elevator pitch. Why do they call it an elevator pitch? Think of yourself going into an elevator with maybe the CEO of a company that you're interested in. Let's say if you're marketing with James. So maybe marketing, name me a company that you are interested in.
Johnson & Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson, okay. So you were able to get into the elevator with the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, and you went from the first floor to the fifth floor. So what are you going to tell the CEO about yourself that would keep that person interested in you to say that you would be the ideal candidate to come on to have an internship or possibly become, to be hired for a position at Johnson & Johnson, right? So this is where you want to start practicing telling your story. So the first thing is thinking about being motivational, right? Again, holding the attention of the person. You want to talk about what is the work that we'll relate this to a resume if you come into our office. What is the relevant work that you have done in order to be hired for that position at Johnson & Johnson, James? Would you say the coursework that you've done, marketing? So in your marketing classes, you want to speak about those classes that are relevant to marketing. That is the same thing that we would do if you come into our office to set up an appointment for your resume. We're going to talk about what are those relevant courses that are related to your major that shows your experience in that field. Also, what do we also want to do? Talk about your experiences. So if you've had an internship, you want to let that employer know about that internship that you had. You would also want to talk about what are some of the skills that you are bringing. Every employer that wants to hire a person has problems that need to be solved. So you want to be able to share with that employer what skills you bring in order to solve the problems that they have at their organization. And then when you close out, in this case, since we're doing informational interviewing, you want to be able to ask for that opportunity to speak with that person again at a later time. If that person can refer you to someone else, that's something else that you want to do in your closing. Because maybe if they don't have an opportunity for you right now, maybe somewhere in the future, it could be that they have an opportunity for you. So as Alicia talked about previously, networking, this is your opportunity to network with that employer so that this way you stay in contact with them. One thing that Alicia mentioned earlier about networking, about staying in contact with your professors, right? I'll use myself for an example. When I went on to graduate school, I spoke to my professors that I had in undergraduate school in order to get letters of recommendations for them in order to go on to graduate school. So keeping those contacts open with your professors as well as your employers if you're employed, that is important because that is going to help you as you go through the process and you start networking.
Okay, the next slide. This is the next handout on your packet.
So next, we're going to talk about the elevator pitch, right? In your elevator pitch, we want to talk about who you are. Again, what I mentioned before, what you have to offer. Why are you here for this informational session? And then what's going to happen in the future. As I said, you want to make it short and sweet. So I'll introduce myself. Hello, Natalia. How are you? My name is Michelle. So I see that you are here with TD Bank and that you are offering, let me start again. My name is Michelle and I was a business major when I was in my undergraduate studies. As I continued on with my undergraduate studies, I always made sure that I did different projects that would help enhance my skills that I learned in class, like my microeconomics as well as macroeconomics. I also studied international business, so I'm very familiar with thinking about things in the economy. But when I finished my undergraduate degree, I had the opportunity to come and work here at Raritan Valley Community College, and I realized that although I always loved helping people, I enjoyed working with the students. So after working here at the school part-time, I decided to explore some opportunities, whether I wanted to continue, because I always knew that I wanted to go on to graduate school, that I want to go for an MBA or an MPA. An MPA, which is a Master's of Public Administration, is equivalent to a Master's in Business Administration. It's just working in a public organization. So two mentors that I had also encouraged me to pursue the Masters of Public Administration. As I studied the program, I was like, wow, this is really interesting. It's the same thing that I learned in my business courses. It's just for a public organization. And I went through my classes. I loved it. I enjoyed every class that I had taken. And then I was able to finish up my degree by studying how, since I was working in a community college, how do people graduate from community colleges? What support systems do they need? So this is what I had learned in my undergraduate and my graduate studies. So working in an organization like yours, I think I would be helpful in helping you in your human resources because of my experience as a career counselor in order to help people become employed here at TD Bank. So I would like to have the opportunity to talk to you at a later date. So can you offer me your business card? Thank you so much. So Is there any particular time that is good for you in order for me to have another conversation with you at a later date?
Yes, why don't we do next Tuesday at 2?
Okay, thank you so much. It was nice to meet you, Natalia, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Me too.
Okay.
And remember, that's a great intro, and then you also may say, can I ask you a few questions now? And then you're gonna have your informational interview questions, right?
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
Exactly.
Right.
But be yourself. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to just be yourself and just try it on. And like I said to Austin earlier, pick some tables you're not as invested in first. So you get your nervousness out, and then decide I'm gonna hit these last, right? Absolutely.
All right. So with your pitch, if anybody wants to volunteer to say, like, what would you say if you did your elevator pitch? James?
So I was thinking, obviously, I say hi, my name is Shane. I'm a business administration major with focus on marketing. Raritan Valley is the second school I've been to. I transferred from Kutztown University. I had to take a year off to wrestle full time. I did make it to the African Championships and African Games
I'm gonna
representing.
stop you for a second. Speak a little slower and a little clearer, because you're saying some really interesting stuff, but I'm not catching everything.
Okay,
And if it's loud in a room, we don't know how much conversation is gonna be going, and it echoes in there. You don't want them to miss one word of what you're saying.
got it.
So try again, yeah.
Where do you want me to go from?
Start where you want to start.
Raritan Valley is my second school. I transferred here from Kutztown University. I took off a semester of school in order to wrestle full time. I wrestled on the South African national wrestling team. Last year I wrestled at U20 Worlds. This year I wrestled at African Games. After that I decided to retire and focus full time on my schooling. I'd really love and appreciate an opportunity at your company. If you're free at a later date, I would love to set up a meeting and potentially discuss more job opportunities you may have or something like that, right?
I think that's off to a really great start. There's a few things I'm curious about.
Yeah.
I think that the whole wrestling thing is gonna get people curious,
Uh-huh.
but I'm also curious what made you interested in marketing? I would have liked to hear a little bit about that.
Okay.
And remember, on Tuesday, you're gonna say, can I stay a little bit and ask some questions about, career opportunities and what it's like to work in that division or at that organization? And I know you'll be more specific when you're there, but I think you're off to a great start. But I'm just curious about, so it sounds like what made you come here, because you're focusing on full-time studies, you're retiring from wrestling,
Right.
right? But I'm curious about why marketing, right?
Marketing, I
Yeah.
just always wanted to go into sales. I always enjoy working with people. Good management and good marketing is always something that's been super interesting to me.
And marketing is a big umbrella, marketing, it's huge. I mean, you've got marketing PR,
Mhm.
you've got marketing sales, you've got marketing in-house, so you're marketing services and things to the employees, you've got marketing externally, so you're marketing a product to somebody else, right?
Right.
So there's so many areas of marketing. So you might also want to think about what's your why about marketing, and does it hurt you to Google marketing?
Uh-huh.
And you might sometimes we have to find our own words through someone else's words.
Yeah.
That sparks me. And then say, I'm just curious about all aspects of marketing, and then what area is going to be most interesting to me.
Right. I'm more so interested by sales and consulting and
Okay.
everything. So that's
So
mainly
you want-
what I'm looking
Then you
for.
want to say that,
Okay.
sales
Well,
and
I mean, like,
consulting.
I'll take an internship anywhere. I'm not like,
Right.
I need an internship, so it's not like I have too much of a choice, but like,
Right.
if I had my choice, that's in the direction I would go.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
That's great. That's off to a really great start. Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
Anybody else want to volunteer? Remember, this is a safe space. So
Yeah.
we're not judging.
Okay, I guess next.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and I'm a third year student here at RV. I switched from engineering to biology because I was more interested in more towards your life science lab, so more your cell cancer and cellular research. The reason why I was more into like cancer and cell other than like ecology and all that stuff, because cancer fascinates me, because like it's your body killing itself because it creates its own parasites. Oh wow.
So, you got stuck on one area, which you're off to a great start. off to a great start. But I think what you want to do is you want to clarify, you know, what is it about, the topic is cancer for you, but there's really more about the research end of it, understanding the why, understanding why people get those types of cancers. And maybe there might also be the way you want to impact the world, that if your way you can impact the world is to help participate in finding ways to better treat cancer, right? So don't linger there too long and then go into your academics or go into your experiences, right? But I think you're off to a good start.
Yeah, I was kind of stuck with the experience because I don't have any. I switched pretty recently.
Well, experience doesn't have to be in the field. When you think about experiences that have shaped you in your life, what experiences have shaped you? Academics, a class? Was there an aha moment that when you said, I'm switching from engineering to biology? Was there a particular professor that spoke to you? Was there a job that you held in your life where that like taught you certain skill sets? Anything come to your mind?
Professor Leon.
So the way you can say it, there was a particular professor that really inspired me to change from engineering to bio. And this is why they inspired me, right? This is what I learned from them. And now go into the next phase. Don't stay there too long. Your next phase is now I'm hoping to get some hands-on experience to complement my academics. I was really excited to come here today to just start learning about opportunities and then move into, do you mind if I ask you a few questions about what it is you do and opportunities with your division, right? So sometimes we linger too long with one area, and that's what you were doing, you were lingering too long.
And one thing you want to keep in mind is that you don't want to sound like you practiced your elevator pitch. You want it to be a natural conversation. So if you need to rehearse the elevator pitch to yourself or to your family members over the weekend, then that's fine. But when you have that conversation as you walk into the career fair, make sure that it's flowing natural, as if you were just having a conversation with a friend. James, you had a question?
Yeah, so it's more like general ideas we're glossing over. We're not really, like, I'm not saying a lot, right? I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
you're not doing a deep dive. That's gonna go into the next
Is
thing.
there like a time that you're looking for?
About 60 seconds,
60
60 or 90 seconds max. And you wanna also read your audience, because the second page of this handout, which if you turn to it, and Michelle can talk a little bit about it, is that there's different kinds of pitches. So one is where like, when you're on Tuesday, you wanna give your full-on pitch, but you don't want it more than a minute. You don't wanna stay too long, because then you haven't asked is to have a conversation, right? But then sometimes what happens is you start your pitch, Austin might say, hi, my name is Austin, I'm an information systems major. Oh, you are? My son's an information, and it's like, oh, they're messing up my pitch, right? But then all of a sudden you have to be ready to switch from your pitch being a 1-minute blurb to a conversation. So when I say, oh, my son's an information systems major too. Oh, really? Well, I got into information systems because, so there's your next piece of your pitch. Oh, that's interesting. And what I'm hoping to do, and then you can come in and out of it because you can't control the other person. And it might become a conversational pitch as opposed to, I'm speaking for 1 minute, don't interrupt me kind of pitch, right?
And you could time yourselves too. Put it on your phone and just give yourself like a minute and a half, and see if you're getting everything that you want to get across to the person in that minute or minute and a half, okay? Alicia, go ahead.
Yeah, we're just about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So I want to be aware of, if you go to the third page of this handout, it's not on the PowerPoint, you want to hold the second and third page up there. The final page talks about the example of a networking conversation. The student says, hi, I'm Amelia Malkin. I'm a junior business administration major at Temper School, completing a track at finance. Hi, Amelia. I'm Jim Lancaster for Wells Fargo. What are you interested in? I'm interested in pursuing a summer internship. So you see how that conversation happens, that example I just gave you? You gotta be prepared for that. Because you may be all prepared for that 60-second blurb, and then all of a sudden that 60-second blurb turns into a conversation. So what you wanna do when you start to practice it is have your key points you know you wanna hit. That they may happen, that person might be quiet, no one else might be at the table. And remember, it may not be just one person at the table on Tuesday. Some of them are coming, like TD Bank, I know we keep saying that, but TD Bank is coming with like 3 managers and the HR recruiter. Whereas I know that, LabCorp is coming, which is someone you might be interested in, Nathaniel. LabCorp is coming with like 4 people. So you're like, who do I speak to first, right? And what you might be at the table when 3 other people are there talking to 3 other people. So you gotta kind of read it a little bit, get yourself in there. And then if you're at the table and no one else is there and there's 4 people, shake everybody's hand and say, nice to meet you. Ask the question. Maybe that's gonna happen before you pitch. Oh, what's your area of specialty at LabCorp and what do you do? And oh, Jim, what do you do? And oh, well, my name's James and I'm a business major. I'm really interested in marketing. This is my why about marketing. I really like sales and consulting. It always intrigues me because I was curious, what was your because? Interestingly enough, this is actually my second college. I was at, you said Kutztown?
Correct.
Yeah, I was at Kutztown before I came to RV. And actually, I also wrestled. When you start to go, my son's an ultimate Frisbee player. He's done nationals and worlds as well. Is that, in the wrestling world, is that considered semi-pro or club?
No, this is
What's it considered at that level?
professional.
So you were a professional wrestler?
Correct, but some WWE, you say that.
I know. Well, I wouldn't say professional wrestler. I was, in the world of wrestling, I was considered at the professional level because
Yeah.
I wrestled. So the way you phrase it, because professional wrestler has been coined, you're right.
Yeah,
But I would phrase it in there. And that's interesting, because what also shows me is when you're professionally, like in a competitive sport like that, that takes so much discipline. That takes so much commitment, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that as well.
Yeah.
Or just go to the next page. Let's see where we are next. Go to the next, go forward, go again, go again. Just because of time, go again. You gotta do it again.
Everyone, my name is Joshua. Hi, everyone.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
I want Michelle, because I know we're running short on time, we have about 10 minutes. I want you to just kind of understand the backdrop of the STAR technique with all of this. So you understand, they're gonna ask you questions too, and you don't wanna just say, like if someone says, tell me a little bit more about that, you don't just say, okay, well, I'm marketing because. You wanna give it in the format of the STAR technique. So Michelle's gonna explain that a little bit.
So with the STAR technique, you're given an example of what it is that you're expanding on the question. So you want to set the stage with a situation by providing the example of a story that you want to share with the employer, right? Then you want to go on to talk about what is the T, is the task, what was the purpose that you had when you were following through, what actions did you take that you took, and then what was the end result that you want to share with the person. So let's give an example of if it was marketing and you talked about how is it that you were interested, how you became interested in marketing. Tell the person, you could share a story about, well, one day I looked at an advertisement that I saw on TV and I said to myself, wow, this looks really interesting, looks like it would be an interesting career for me. So what would I do in order to get into that career path? So what I did was I started doing research about how would I go into marketing, and then I learned about the different classes that were offered if I pursued that type of degree, and it sparked my interest even more. So what I did was I went to school and I enrolled in a degree program for business that specialized in marketing. And here I am today about to finish that degree and continue my education at a 4-year institution after I graduate.
You ever had a conversation with someone and they just start talking and you don't know where they're going with the conversation? You don't want that to happen on Tuesday. You want to set the stage. You know, and Michelle just gave an example of like why marketing. And by the way, James, we should talk because there's a great Advanced Solar Products. It's a solar company, and they took a marketing intern for the first time last summer, a student of mine. He had an amazing experience, and they're probably going to do it this summer again.
Will they be here this next
They're
week?
not going to be at the career fair, but there's some. They've taken engineer interns for like 7 years every summer with me. And last year was the first year they wanted to try a marketing intern. And they had such a great experience with Sean. He's over at Ryder now, I think, that they're gonna do it again. So definitely like come by the office, shoot me an email, something, so we can talk more about that. But anyway, the point of the matter is, if I just started to say, oh, Advanced Solar Products is a really interesting company, and you're like, why is she mentioning that? Why is she mentioning that? But if I say, hey, there's a company that just started having a marketing intern, and they took their first marketing intern last summer. Their name is Advanced Solar Products, and then I tell the story, all of a sudden I've just given you context, and I've perked your interest, right?
Right.
Now I'm telling you the story about Advanced Solar Products, and the result is that student had a really amazing experience, and they're looking for more. So now you're interested, because you know they're gonna be looking for summer 24.
I didn't realize you used that on me. I thought you were just like.
No, I literally just used the STAR technique.
Incognito.
Right?
Okay.
And I find that I use it a lot in my conversation, because there is nothing more annoying when someone starts talking and you're like, where the heck are they going? So set the stage. And the stage can be set in a lot of different ways. I'm really excited to be here today and learn about your division. Thank you so much. For me, my name is James, and I'm a marketing major, but my story is a little different. I actually wrestled and took time away from college to professionally wrestle, both on the world and global level, and then decided after that experience, I really wanted to step away and dedicate more time to my studies. And that's when I came to Raritan Valley and I chose to major in marketing. And I was really interested in coming and speaking to you today to kind of see how I can learn more, because as a young professional, I want to learn more. And I know that that's the next phase to my career journey. So thank you so much for being here today. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Right, it all of a sudden has context. So the STAR technique, and J&J, I work with J&J, I've been working with them for about 8 years, specifically with their co-ops and now for supply chain, and now we're gonna do information systems like I told Austin. But literally when my reps there, after they interview a bunch of students, I ask for feedback so I can give the students feedback. That's how you learn, right? And I've had students not get into a J&J co-op their first round and then get in on the second round because of the feedback. And they'll say to me, they were great on the S, they didn't do well in the T and the A, or they were great on the task and the action, but there was no R in the answers to their question. They really were weak with that. So here's like a big company literally using the STAR technique. They all use it. Some use, it's called the PAR, but the most popular is the STAR.
This keeps you on task. So as Alicia said, you don't go into what we call the weeds. You're giving them the story, you're setting up that story for them by giving the situation, let them know what were the steps that you actually took, and then what were the end results for you, and what was the outcome when you finished. Okay? Any questions about the STAR technique?
And if you go to the next slide, because we're running out of time. Yeah. But if you Google that as well, like YouTube STAR, you'll get, we're not gonna do this, we're not gonna have time. And we kind of just, some people gave their example. So what's next? What I would say in terms of what's next here is draft up what you're gonna say. Practice, 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 right? Practice with your sister, practice literally walking around the house, and think about it in terms of the STAR technique. Make sure for Tuesday you kind of have an outfit ready to wear that you feel comfortable in. And then start to really figure out what questions you're going to ask at the event. And then the really important piece for this is also to do a follow-up with us. So this way, those big fives, resume first, then cover letter, LinkedIn, right? Your branding, your interviewing. Make that a priority for yourself. Give yourself that gift before you graduate, that you have those things set. Because, I was actually in the corporate world for a number of years. I was in marketing and sales, James, for Chiquita Banana, believe it or not. I also was in banking, in finance, and realized that numbers were not for me. Like I said, my career path was a little bit like this. There's a theory in career development that I love that's called the theory of happenstance. And I love that theory because this is exactly what we're talking about today. You can be a straight A student and the most prepared student in the world. You can have the best resume. But if you're not getting outside your comfort zone and opening yourself up to experience of networking and meeting people, it's not going to happen. You can be the most social, ready to network with anybody on the street, but if you don't have all your career management tools set, and you're not ready, it's not gonna happen. So for happenstance, for it to happen and those circumstances to come your way, you have to have the balance of two. So Tuesday is really kind of a push, because sometimes we need a deadline, we need an impetus, we need something that makes you go from A to B. Tuesday is that. The networking event on November 9th is that. Get yourself into those uncomfortable situations, so you're getting into more and more of those type of situations where opportunities will come your way, and you're forcing yourself to have someone look at your resume. You may not have even come to us for your resume if it wasn't for this, but now you will, right? So that's all good stuff. So that's basically what's going on. And if you have any questions, let us know. And we hope you found this helpful. Any questions before we finish up? You feel a little bit more ready for Tuesday? Yeah? Yeah? Okay.